Organization, the Boy Scouts of America, do precisely that as well. It teaches these young people that they can in fact have hope and aspire to greatness in their own lives, in their own way, in their own space. When I was the CIA director, I made it a point that every time there was a new class of CIA officers show up, I wanted to be there on their first day. And I stood in front of the hollowed ground where the stars of the CIA officers who had passed away in the line of duty was behind me. And I would speak for a few minutes to them. And they were young people in their 20s and early 30s. Almost all of them spoke multiple languages. I struggled to do English myself. These were talented young people, but they would often ask, like, what is it that I can do so I can be successful here? And I would share with them something that's been talked about tonight, which is that while I have known successful, lazy people, I have not known very many. Frankly, most people who achieve the things that matter to them in life. Sometimes that's a good job. Sometimes that's a role as a leader in our military or one of our intelligence agencies or in the business world. It's often about raising a family and being a good contributor in one's faith institution as well. I have found that the people who achieve the most self-satisfaction and deliver the most good and serve the most effectively are people who are willing to work really hard. They're willing to toil. They're often prepared to do so in the face of those who might criticize them, critique them, challenge them. I certainly saw this in my 4 years working in the Trump administration. I lived that. I know you can laugh, it's good. 3 years out, I'm fully recovered. More dearly so. I was asked, Mike, how did you do this in these tough places, right? Doing hard work in some of the most difficult places in the world. I spent time with some of the most evil human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. I spent time with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. We negotiated with the Taliban. I spent way too much time with Chairman Kim in North Korea, like way too much time. In fact, on my second business, Eddie Kim, my CIA officer, said, you're now the American record holder for time with Chairman Kim. The previous record holder was Dennis Rodman. He actually meant that as a compliment. I, of course, took that away as I went home and I told my son that's now famous, I said, Nick, you won't believe this. I told you I'd break NBA records. He had the same response you all did. For those of you younger, I'm sure you will all go on to work really hard. And when you are told that you are wrong and you know you're right, you will stay at it. I was reminded earlier, someone was talking about the Scout oath and the things that Scouts talk about consistently. I was reminded of the cadet prayer, which talks expressly about keeping one faith and choosing the harder right instead of the easier wrong. We carried that little book in our pockets for 4 years. You young people will have enormous opportunity. I am confident that America is going to have another 250 great years. This institution, the scouting institution, this process, which inculcates the values, take it on board. Love your parents. Love your fellow scouts. Work hard. Work hard to help them be successful in the way they want to be successful. You each have the capacity to do that. You should know that the Pompeo family is counting on you. The Pompeo family is counting on you to lead this next generation of Americans. Scouting can be enormously productive. Productive for everyone whose life it touches. Make it be so. You know, I was reading some polling data from just a few weeks ago. It talked about less than 20% of young people say today that they're proud to be Americans. I immediately rejected that as saying that the data set must be wrong, because it cannot be in this nation that has given me so much and that has given all of us so much. And as I had traveled the world, I realized there is nothing like this place. And those of you in the audience who are young, you can't appreciate what a blessing it is that you have this blue passport, that you are indeed an American. Cherish it. And I still think that number was wrong. But I am confident that number is lower than it should be. And I am counting on you, Scout masters and Scout leaders and parents, to make sure that your children and their children come to appreciate how deeply important America is in the world and how important it is that America continue to stay based on its heritage, its Judeo-Christian understanding of the world. This is central to making sure that we can do all of the things that the world will need as we have another billion people populate this place. Earlier, the speaker talked about patriotism being in decline. Maybe so. But I must say, I often see in the small places of America enormous hope and enormous patriotism. A few weeks ago, I was lamenting the nature of our educational institutions in America, both our K-12 institutions and our universities as well. And after my remarks, this fella comes up, and you all know this guy. He had a leather jacket on, he had a Vietnam patch, he was a motorcycle enthusiast, silver hair, bandana, love this guy. And he comes up and he says, Mr. Secretary, I have to tell you, I'm gonna run for school board. This gentleman was probably in his late 60s or early 70s, I would guess. He says, I'm gonna run for school board. He says, I don't even know where they hold the meetings. I'm gonna run for school board. He says, because I know that my grandchildren need a school board that reflects the character and value set that my family has, and that I want everyone in my community to have. I now know that he won that seat on the school board. I hope he figured out how to find the meeting place. But I know that there are remarkable Americans who didn't need that for a moment, who had successful, fulfilled lives, but who chose one more time to go back and find that place where they could serve, where they could deliver, where they could give a little bit of what America gave them and give it back, just as those of you who lead here in the Scouts do. You know, in the Declaration of Independence, our founders wrote that we are all created equal. We should think about that for a moment. It was a simple phrase, but too often forgotten. The idea that the Scouts of America put forward, this idea that individual merit matters, and that hard work should be rewarded, and that faith is central to who we are, is something our founders knew. It wasn't about being selfish. It wasn't about just being a great American. It was about an understanding of human dignity and what in fact makes the world a place that our God would appreciate. I love that you began with a prayer this evening. I love that you sang the national anthem. Those are good starts. I wish I'd have done that every day at the State Department. They could have used it. There was a woman on MSNBC the other day. I don't watch it often. It's not good for my health. My cardiologist told me not to. But I saw this clip where she said that she couldn't understand how some of us believe that our rights are in fact God-given. I know those of you in the audience tonight who are working so hard to build up this next generation of great leaders know that these rights are central to who we are as Americans. I'd ask you every place you go, whether it's to your kid's soccer game or the water cooler at your place of work, or to your church or your synagogue, or wherever you may practice your faith, or just when you're in the grocery store, speak the truth. Remind everyone who you encounter what it means to be decent, what it means to have character. You do this when you're with your Scout friends. You do this in the circles that you know, with the people that you trust. I'd urge you to do it everywhere. American history, real American history, matters. This is a nation that is worthy. You are worthy. I talked about the pessimism. I often give remarks and talk about the challenges in the world, the challenges of the Chinese Communist Party, the challenges of terrorism, the challenges we're having on our southern border today. And my wife will joke from time to time. She'll say, people must walk out of that room and pop a Xanax. or have a stiff drink, or, God, heaven forbid, both. Which, by the way, really bad idea.
Yeah.
But I'm an optimist. I'm deeply optimistic. Indeed, I could not be more, to use a financial term, I could not be more long on America. But as I began tonight, I'm not long on America because I think we're going to find the perfect president of the United States. I'm not long on America because we're going to find some CEO that's going to do this wonderful, amazing thing, because we're going to find some senator. We're going to deliver on our promise, because some of you will go to a PTA meeting and you'll do something for a child that is not your own. Some of you will head to the church picnic. Some of you will coach a kid's soccer team or sponsor a Little League team in a way that, wasn't directly impacting your family or your children. You will give of yourself to make the sum of your community greater. Here we are on this night where there were many things you could all have chosen to do, and you came to be here amongst friends, among fellow believers in what the Scouts do and what they can do for our young people. Tonight you gave of yourselves, gave your money, you gave of your time, and you contributed to what will be the greatness of the next generation. This promise is worthy of fulfilling, and when I see you tonight, I leave here even more optimistic than when I walked in the room. Keep at it. I pray that you will. I encourage you to do it. Know that I and my family will do our best to do it alongside of you. Because if we each work hard to fortify that next generation, I am confident that the next 250 years will be great, and that the 85th Secretary of State will have an opportunity to come and fill a room twice this size and continue this march towards excellence and faith and decency. May God bless you all. Thank you for the chance to be here, and good luck to all you young Scouts. May you make Eagle Scout and stay very, very safe, and make your parents really happy. Thank you.